Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Players NIL Podcast. My special guest today comes from the state of North Carolina. Although he has a diverse background in terms of academics and athletics, I want to welcome Todd Hairston to the podcast. Todd, welcome.
Well, thank you, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to the conversation today.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive into this, this format that we have here, where we'll go through your life. And at the Players NIL, we say that we want to use athletics to better our lives. And my second part of that mission statement is to better the lives of the people around us. And I've created the Players NIL to give back and to create opportunities for student athletes, something that you're passionate about, I know from our previous conversations. And you've demonstrated that in your professional career. But let's go back to your childhood. And, I use two words, sports and athletics. To me, sports is the fandom part. Maybe someone took you a game, you saw someone playing basketball in the park or running around on a field. Athletics would be your own personal participation. We'll get to that, but probably fandom comes first in the word sports. So tell me about your early childhood and your exposure to sports.
Yeah, no, I'd say I was kind of bitten by the bug of sports at a really early age. I don't remember exactly how old I was, probably 4 or 5 years old. I remember some of my earliest memories are just kind of sitting and watching baseball games with my grandfather and my dad. They were big. LA Dodgers fans, even though, we live on the East Coast of North Carolina. They were big Dodgers fans. And so I remember some of those early Yankees Dodgers, World Series and growing up, just everything about sports I loved, watching, I'll date myself here, but, when I was a kid watching guys like Dr. J and Magic and, those guys play basketball, and I was always a big tennis fan. So I loved watching, Bjorn Borg and McEnroe and Connors and those guys go at it. And it was just, just the excitement of sports was like nothing that I'd ever experienced before. And again, as far back as I can remember, it was something that I loved and wanted to do and watch and just be around. And, I didn't know it then, but obviously it was something that was going to be a part of my life, both personally and professionally, for a long time. And it still is to this day.
Yeah. So you're a fan, you're watching all these great sports. And I grew up on Long Island. So to me, Dr. J was, sorry, Michael, sorry, LeBron, sorry, Magic, but Dr.
Right.
J was the man for me, the afro and the dunks and the old ABA. So you're interested, you're a fan, you're following it. Tell us about athletics. When did you start to participate and what sports did you play?
Unfortunately, I grew up in a small town, North Carolina, Walnut Cove, North Carolina. So, we didn't have a lot of kind of organized sports at my disposal. So we didn't have a YMCA or any sort of the local club. So, for me, it was probably, late elementary school, before I could really do anything organized. And so basketball was the only sport that my elementary school offered. And so I played that as early as I could. I think that was maybe like 4th or 5th grade. But prior to that, it was not organized at all. But, I'm the middle child of 3. And so I have an older brother who's 4 years older. And so any of us who have older brothers, you've got that competitive kind of nature that's created in you because you're always trying to beat your older brother. And so we would play everything, we'd play baseball in the backyard and I'd try to hit it as far as he could. And, we'd play tennis, in the driveway, basket, we had a hoop that my dad, built and we had a hoop in the backyard. So, I started probably playing again 4 or 5 years old, but I'd say in terms of organized sports, it was elementary school, middle school when I really got into that. So my 2 sports were basketball and tennis. Those were the 2 sports that I was probably the best at. I loved football, but I was a pretty small kid, so I was never big enough to play football. I would have gotten destroyed. But yeah, I'd say basketball and tennis were the 2 sports that I played, and I played both of those throughout my high school years and still play them today as much as I can, as much as my knees will allow me at this age.
Well, they're very similar athletically, right, with the footwork, and so the one probably helps the other. So what's the scouting report of Todd's athletic career in high school? What would the scouts say?
I think what the scouts would say, what I would always tell people is if I had to defend me, I would, I got a pretty quick first step. So you don't, you want to cut off the driving lanes. My jump shot is a little, a little temperamental. So you might want to, you might want to back up and give me the jump shot before you give me the drive. But I'll, every now and then I'll knock the three down as well. So take your chances on that.
Well, today, if you don't shoot the three, you won't get on the floor, right? Everybody shoots the three.
Well, that's true today. Now, again, I grew up in an era where, the post guys were still very much in demand, and there was a such thing as a mid-range game. So, yeah, I don't know how well my game would translate to today, but it worked okay back in the day.
So you graduated from high school. Tell us a little bit about your academic career. Where'd you go? What you study? And how did you, use your fandom again and your sports background, your athletic background as an athlete to drive you to success?
Sure. So, one of the things that dictated my college career growing up in North Carolina, that's ACC territory. So it's Tobacco Road, it's Duke and Carolina, Wake and NC State, and all those rivalries. And so I actually went to Wake Forest. That was my undergrad institution. And obviously athletically, I wasn't, able to play at that level. But, it was, again, a great school. And I think that marriage of high level athletics and academics was something that really appealed to me. And, at 18 years old, I wasn't super ready to go halfway across the country to college. And so it just so worked out that, Wake was about a half an hour from where I grew up. And so, I had a wonderful time there. I was at Wake it was a wonderful time to be there as a basketball fan, because that was, I came in, Rodney Rogers was there when I got there. Randolph Childress, I was there 3 years with Tim Duncan. We won a couple ACC titles in the tournament every year. So it was a lot of fun to be there at that time. And, even though again, my athletic career did not extend into college, back in those days, we used to, there was basically one gym there on campus. And after the season, all the players would come in and play with the regular guys like me. And, the story I love to tell is, one day we were playing pickup and the team was in there and I remember, cutting back door, Randolph Childress, threw me an entry pass. I was able to knock down a reverse layup over the outstretched arm of Tim Duncan. So that's the story that I'll tell as long as I can. But just a great 4 years, great academic environment, great social environment. And again, knowing that I wanted to do something in the realm of sports, we had a major there was a health and sports science was one of the programs that they offered, and that's what I chose to major in. And again, I just wanted to stay close to athletics. It hadn't totally come into focus exactly what I wanted to do as a career, but I knew I wanted to do something in the realm of sports, and so that was a great major to really try to understand just the physiology of the body and kinesiology and all of the kind of biomechanical aspects of sports. So that was kind of, my academic career and pseudo athletic career in a nutshell, there in college.
Well, again, not everyone has to participate to use sports to better their life. And so Absolutely. Your interest guided you towards a curriculum, a great academic institution, a great degree. So you graduated from college. Tell us about your career and how you kept in touch with athletics during your career, the roles that you had.
Certainly. So, initially after I graduated from Wake, I thought I wanted to maybe pursue athletics from a more clinical perspective. So I got a master's in public health, and with the idea of kind of working in a kind of sports medicine type arena. And, after a couple of experiences and internships and so forth, I realized that wasn't exactly the niche that I wanted. I wanted to, I knew I wanted to again, stay close to it, but not necessarily in that way. And so I just kind of, I just remember kind of thinking about, okay, well, what do I want to do? How do I want to play this out? And my wife, wasn't my wife at the time, but I remember her asking me, what's something that what's something that you would want to do if no one paid you to do it? What would that be? And I just said, whenever I go to games, I see these guys walking around and, they're in their suits and they've got their credentials on, and I don't know exactly what they do, but that looks really cool. I'd love to do that. And so what I was talking about without knowing it was sport administration. And so, I went to, I kind of researched some programs, knowing, not being a college athlete, I didn't have all of those connections. I didn't know coaches. I didn't know people in the business. And so I just decided, okay, the way that I need to set myself apart is to go the educational route. And so, I actually got a doctorate in sport administration from Florida State. And again, I thought being in that environment, again, Florida State is obviously a great brand in the world of college athletics. And my first year there in grad school, they won the national championship in football. And it was just a great environment for someone who was wanting to just be a sponge and understand just the whole, arena of college athletics administration. And so I was fortunate enough to get an internship there in NCAA compliance, when I was a grad student. And, that kind of turned into my first opportunity at a small D1 school, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. They had an opening. I was a green, wet behind the ears grad student, recent grad, didn't know the first thing about compliance or college athletics, other than, what I'd been able to learn from my grad program and internship. But I went from being a GA to an assistant AD for compliance. And that was, the learning curve was steep, but it was a tremendous learning experience. At a smaller school like that, you wear a bunch of hats, and I learned a lot, and it was a wonderful experience, and it really set me up well for the remainder of my career.
Yeah. It's just fun that there's so many different roles that people can contribute to athletes and their success. And compliance and administration is a big part of it. And, I think those of us that get to a certain age, we look back and remember people that were influential in our life. And I'm sure that there's, hundreds, if not thousands of kids that say, maybe you had a conversation, maybe it was a wink, maybe it was a tap on the shoulder and a pat on the back that makes a difference. And that's, again, at the Players NIL, we want to make a difference, and you certainly have. So tell us about your current career, what you're working on, your company, and what you're excited about today.
Well, sure. Absolutely. I think, you hit it. I think one of the things that you have the opportunity to do after you've kind of been removed from kind of the, your playing days are over and you're a little bit older, you got a little bit of gray hair, you have a unique perspective, and there's a tremendous opportunity to give back. And that's what I've tried to do, throughout my professional career. And so after about 20 years of working on campus, I transitioned to my current company, Spry, about a year and a half ago. And I think while it's a different point of connection, I think it's still a great opportunity to be able to give back and contribute to student athletes. Obviously, on campus, you have more direct interaction. But one of the big things that we really try to do at Spry is to really assist student athletes through education. One of the things that I've always, we've all heard, kind of the stories of student athletes being exploited, by the system. And I think there are certainly many examples where that's true. But I've always kind of believed that, you can only be exploited to the extent that you kind of allow yourself to be. And I think, education is one of those tools that student athletes can certainly use to their advantage. And I think there's an opportunity for young people to kind of flip that narrative and kind of, utilize their athletic gifts and academic gifts, to to take full advantage of the opportunities that student athlete participation can afford them. And particularly today, I think more so than ever before, with NIL kind of being a thing, and the transfer portal, I think, has transformed the student athlete experience. And that's become a lever that students can use, to really, dictate the type of environment that they want to have, both academically, socially, and athletically, and to really hold institutions accountable for making sure that they are getting everything out of that experience that they need. But in order to do that, they have to be equipped with tools and education. And I think that's what that's what you're trying to do with the Players NIL, which I appreciate, and that's exactly what we're trying to do, with Spry, just empowering students to understand, business concepts, understand, kind of where some of the pitfalls are, understanding taxes, understanding risk management and liability, and all of these other things that are going to serve them well, not just while they're a student athlete, maybe trying to broker an NIL deal, but for the rest of their lives. I think these are critical life skills that I think we have a really special opportunity to help them with, and so I'm really excited about that.
It sounds awesome, and you're a perfect fit for it. They're lucky to have you because your experience and your commitment to student athletes is exemplary. So congratulations. And so we get to the close of the podcast. This is your chance to be the old man in the corner of the room, tell young kids what they should and shouldn't do. So, age 18, you're getting ready to go to school. Todd Hairston, go back, with all of the ability to manage your life today with technology and NIL and social media. Just give us a couple nuggets, words of wisdom to the 18-year-olds out there.
Yeah, and I think it's tough, talking to my 18-year-old self, versus today, because the world is so different. I think for myself and probably you, when we were 18, we could afford to make a mistake. We could afford to have a lapse in judgment, and it probably wasn't going to be, recorded or time stamped for eternity on social media. And I think it's just a little bit different today. One of the things, and this is not new advice, this has been said many times, but I think it bears repeating. I think especially as it relates to NIL, I think I would advise kids to just be very careful about, the digital footprint they're creating for themselves. The things that they're creating, the types of things they're posting, the pictures they're in, the memes that they're creating, those things don't go away. And so I would encourage them to be very thoughtful about, putting their best foot forward. And one other thing I would add, and this is something this is advice that I would give myself, because this isn't something I was great at, but, just the importance of taking full advantage of the relationships that they have access to, particularly as a college student athlete. That window of opportunity is very narrow. You've got 4 years, maybe 5 years, where you have a captive audience of coaches and administrators and donors and fans who want to help you, who want to affiliate themselves with you, and take advantage of that while that window is open, because you don't know if you're going to have those opportunities again. And the people that you meet during your 4 years as a student athlete, could be people who, could be a business partner down the road, an investor down the road, someone who could recommend you for other opportunities that could be life altering. So I would just encourage young people to take full advantage of the really unique opportunity they have as a student athlete.
Great advice. Awesome. Well, I hope our audience enjoys this conversation. Todd, you've been a wonderful guest, and congratulations on all your success. And I know that you still have things that you want to accomplish, but your impact and influence on student athletes is something that I admire. And I want to thank you for being my guest today.
Well, thank you, Mark. Again, thanks for the opportunity to share. And again, kudos to you as well for all that you're trying to do in this same space. So, best of luck to you with your endeavors as well.
Okay.